Hello, today we are going to be talking about SAP certification and the 7 key steps in getting certified. So, these are the 7 key steps. First of all, you need to ask yourself the question, do I even need to be certified? And do I need to be certified now or can I do it later? Second question is, am I eligible to be certified? Can I just walk in and take the exam? What is the appropriate level of certification for me? How do I train for the certification? What is the syllabus and where do I get the sample questions for the area that I've chosen to get certified in? How do I prepare for the exam? And how do I actually maximize my chances and clear the exam on the test day? So we'll start with the first question. Do you need to be certified? Before we get into the question itself, let us take a quick look at what is SAP certification all about. So SAP certification is basically an exam conducted by SAP AG, and passing this exam simply gives you an externally recognized mark of excellence in a specific SAP solution. SAP offers different kinds of certifications covering application, technology, development, and at the last count they had over 160 certifications, and depending on your area of expertise or your interest, you could choose one or the other. So why do people typically want to get certified? They hope to get a job in SAP consulting. They hope for rapid career growth. They want recognition from their peers and their employer. Sometimes it's a requirement from the employer side. A lot of consulting companies need a specific percentage of their consultants to be certified. Or you may just want to prove your knowledge to the peers and to the wider world. And some people get certified because they see it as an opportunity to learn. Now, there is different degrees of truth in each of these statements. So, for example, certification will not get you a job in SAP consulting, not without reasonable experience or if you are simply lucky. Rapid career growth, well, it would certainly boost your career, but there are no guarantees that you're going to get any rapid career growth because you're certified. Recognition, this simply depends from company to company, varies depending on your employer. You may or may not get any recognition. Employer requirement, yeah, this is a hard one. So for example, if you're working for SAP AG or SAP US, they would typically expect you to be certified in one or more solution areas. So this one is a real reason to get certified. You want to prove your knowledge? Yeah, certainly. But how many people actually care that you are certified? Because in the real world, the real knowledge is what is most important. Opportunity to learn, certainly. This certainly gives you a good opportunity to revisit the basics of the solution that you're working in. So from an individual's perspective, these are some of the reasons that you might want to get certified. A lot of these are not really valid, but some are. But let's see what are the reasons in the real world. What does the real world think about SAP certification? So these are some comments from recruiters, from hiring managers, from departmental heads and program managers, and there are different comments based on where you're coming from. So some people say it really makes no difference if you have a lot of experience. Some others say, well, for big consultancies, it's a marketing thing. They want to show that they have consultants who are certified. And here again it says if you're starting out, maybe certification helps. So a whole variety of opinions floating around in the real world. Let's see what all this translates to. What this translates to, really speaking, is certification is of value for less experienced consultants, and certification is of value for newer solution areas. For example, HANA is relatively new, so a certification there would go a long way compared to a certification in, say, sales and distribution that's been around and not changed that much over the past 10 years. Similarly, if you're competing with people who've got less than 1 year experience and you're the only one in the group that has a certification, now that makes you stand out in the crowd. So all other things remaining equal, a certification may give you a slight edge. So based on this, you may decide that you indeed want to go for a certification and you see the value in it. But then the next question is, why now? To decide whether you want to get certified right away or you want to wait for some time, let's look at a typical growth cycle from a full-time student to an SAP consultant. Now there are various paths as you can see here, but let's look at a typical cycle. So you're a full-time student, you get an entry-level job, any job not related to SAP, and then finally after some experience based on your functional knowledge of the industry, you get an entry-level SAP job. Now after you're here, you get some experience, end-to-end lifecycle project experience in SAP, and following that you go for SAP training or certification. Typically in this scenario you've got about 4 to 5 years experience under your belt, with about 2 years being in SAP. So your employer itself might send you for the certification, and then after you've got trained, you got certified and you already have experience, you want to go as an SAP consultant in the wider world. Now this is a typical scenario. There might be shortcuts. So for a more full-time student, you might directly jump into an entry-level SAP job, and from an entry-level SAP job, after a few years you can directly jump into being an SAP consultant. Now these are some typical real paths that today's consultants have taken. So one consultant had a bachelor's degree and his college was part of the SAP University Alliance, which gave them a lot of training in SAP as part of the college curriculum. This helped this consultant get an FI certification while he was studying, and based on this he got an entry-level job, worked there for 3 years, he was further trained by the company, and then finally he became an independent SAP consultant. So this way there are various other paths that are possible. In fact, the last one says he's not even SAP certified and he's working as a consultant. So depending on where you are in the life cycle from a student to an SAP consultant, you may decide that maybe now is a time for you to get certified, or maybe you want to wait for some time. And another factor to bear in mind while deciding why now is how long is the certification valid for. So this is where we come to the validity of a certification. If you've got certified today, 5 years down the line, that certification is highly unlikely to be valid, especially in fast changing areas like UX, Fiori, HANA, etc. What SAP say is that the valid certifications are the 2 most recent solution releases. What this means, for example, is that if you've got certified in HANA Support Pack 6, then that would be valid till Support Pack 7 and 8, and once Support Pack 9 comes out, then that certification will not be valid anymore. So this is another consideration you want to take into account while deciding whether you want to get certified right away or you want to wait for some time. So this covers the first step to getting SAP certified. So now you've seen and decided that you want to get certified, and you've decided that you want to get certified now. Let's look at the second step in this. Second step is eligibility. Can you just walk into an SAP training center and apply for certification? Well, the prerequisites and the trainings or courses required to sit for certification vary by geographic region. In Asia Pacific, for example, you need to be sponsored by the implementation partner and have some experience under your belt in the module that you're going to take the certification for. In the rest of the world, it's a matter of just walking up and booking your certification exam. SAP does provide a list of recommended trainings for each exam area. However, it's not mandatory to take those trainings. And professional certifications can be taken without taking the associate exam. Exam questions are drawn from the course material, and the best way typically to pass is to take a full series of classes and then study intensively all the material you're given in those classes and then go for the exam. Another important thing to keep in mind is the cost of the certification. So typically the cost is about 500 USD for an associate level exam and 750 for a professional level exam. Most of US, Europe and Canada have fees that are approximately this. However, cost in India and in the Asia Pac region is slightly different from this. First of all, you need to fill in some requirements before you can apply for the certification. You need the implementation experience, and you need to have worked with your employer, and your present employer should sponsor you for the certification. If you do not fulfill any of the above criteria, you will need to take a full academy training, and thereby the cost for you would be much higher than the equivalent of the 500 USD. Next, we move on to step 3, which is selecting the right certification level. So SAP offers a whole host of different certification levels. These are the most common ones. So you have the associate certification, you have the professional certification, you have the new certification in the cloud, and you have the specialty certification. So a vast majority of students typically take this associate certification because, as you saw earlier, the maximum benefit of a certification is at entry level and for new solution areas, both of which mean the associate certification adds the most value. Specialty certification is a relatively new addition, and SAP is currently working on releasing some of the courses which will be covered by this certification. The cloud is typically for cloud solutions, and we will see in subsequent slides how this works. So solutions like HCM cloud solution and success factors are typically covered under the certification in the cloud. So once you've decided the correct certification level and your subject area, it's time to now look at what are the training options you have. So SAP offers a whole host of different training options. So you have the classroom training, the virtual classroom, the direct certification for students outside of Asia Pac, e-learning, e-academy, learning hub, and live access. And you can go to training.sap.com to read more about each of these options. From an individual's perspective, however, most of these options are fairly expensive and much more than the $500 that it would cost for the exam registration itself. The other set of options are self-study. Especially if you've got some experience, you can always go in for self-study. You can look at help.sap.com to find out more details about areas that you're not very clear about and go in for the certification. And then you have a whole host of independent training institutes that would help you come up to speed with the certification syllabus and expose you to a wide variety of real life situations that will help you in clearing your certification test. Whichever option you choose, you will need to still find out what the syllabus is, what the weightage of various topics are, and sample questions. So that is something we cover in the next step, step 5. Find the syllabus and the sample question. So each certification has its own set of topic areas with weightages against each topic area, and you can also find the number of questions that you will get in the exam and how much time you will get to take the exam. You can get all this information by visiting training.sap.com. So let's take a quick look at this URL. I go to my browser and go to training.sap.com, and I come to this screen. Let me just move it a little bit on the side so you can see properly. So this is SAP's hub for all training and certification related information. So let me try to see if I can find HCM certification. So there are 13 certifications related to human capital management, HCM. So let me go to HCM payroll and see what kind of detail I find there. So this is what I get: HCM payroll associate certification, 80 questions, cutoff score is 65, and some information related to the certification. I get the topic areas and the percentages, and I get this information on which PDFs, which books, which training courses cover which topic area. So you can get a whole lot of information about your certification from this page. You can also get the PDF link which will give you the sample certification questions for this topic. And this will give you a very good idea on what to focus on while doing your prep. You can also get the cost, $500, and the dates. So training.sap.com is where you should go once you've decided to take the certification. Now we go to the actual exam prep, step 6. Before we go into the tips and tricks on how to do your preparation, let's take a step back and see what are the SAP guidelines as far as exam prep is concerned. Who is the actual target audience? Now these guidelines are SAP's guidelines to the people, internal as well as external consultants, who actually prepare these test questions. So what SAP says is the questions should be such that they should test if the candidate knows enough to contribute positively to a project. SAP is not trying to identify top performers, and questions should be such that roughly half the candidates should be able to answer correctly. The focus is on relevance and frequency, which basically means those scenarios should be tested that most often occur frequently in the real world and have a large impact on the SAP project. So essentially what this shows is that these questions target the average test taker. They are neither too easy nor too difficult. So while doing your prep, there's no point trying to learn or trying to absorb concepts that are very obtuse and difficult and very rare to encounter. So let's take a look at what question types are available. So you have multiple choice questions, in which typically you will be given a choice of 4 answers with a radio button and only one answer will be correct. And then you have multiple response questions which are of 2 main types. In the first type, you will have 4 answer choices and you need to select the 2 correct ones. And in the second scenario, you will have 5 answer choices and you will need to select the 3 correct ones. Now in these multiple response questions, there is no partial credit, which means that if there are 3 correct answers and you choose only 2, then you will get 0 in this question. So how do you actually study for the exam? The first thing is to go through the official class material multiple times. This is the single most important source for the certification questions. While doing this, you focus more on the business scenarios and concepts rather than trying to learn everything by heart, by rote. The latest guidelines that SAP has provided to the question makers is that they should not set questions that test mere facts, but the questions should be more focused around business scenarios and application of the concepts. While studying, give more importance to chapters with a higher percentage. So as we saw earlier, for the HCM payroll certification, the top 3 topics have the highest weightage. So it makes sense to spend more time and effort in studying these topics. And if you're stuck or if you need more information, you can go to help.sap.com. This has more information that you will ever need for the certification. So let's have a quick look here. So I go to help.sap.com and here I can look for whichever specific topic that I need. Next, you should try to get hold of various sample question sets. We've already seen that SAP provides some sample questions that give you a good idea on which concepts to focus on while studying. But it's always better to get more if you can, and there are various Yahoo and Google groups that you can visit to get those questions. You can also go to reputed sites like sapschool.com. So let's have a quick look here. So this is sapschool.com, a site that's been around for the past 7 years or so and has helped hundreds of students clear the certification exam. So you have over 200 free questions across different topic areas that you can just go and browse. And then if you want more, you can buy their question banks. And these question banks come with a money back guarantee. And the reason there's a money back guarantee is that very few people actually fail the test after reading this material. And then finally, you should make your own notes while doing your preparation. You spend a lot of time and money and effort for your preparation, and it's almost impossible to do a quick revision before the test or to recall concepts that you need to focus on more. But if you make your quick notes, they will certainly help you. Before we go on to our final step, here's a quick note of caution. Of late, a lot of irregularities and reports of cheating have come to the fore, and SAP are now trying to hit back at those kind of websites and sources that supply students with questions that are from the actual certification question banks. And the way they are doing it is by taking legal action against sites that sell illegal questions, and also by deploying forensics to identify any exam irregularities and evidence of cheating. And they've started holding back certification and even imposing lifetime bans on candidates that are found to cheat. So please ensure that whatever source that you use for sample questions and question banks is authentic, because the last thing you want is getting your career nipped in the bud even before it is taken off. So kindly be careful. And now we move on to our last and final step, the actual exam. So you've worked for many weeks, focused on getting your concepts right. What do you actually do on the exam day and over those 3 hours? So firstly, leave sufficient time for a quick and final revision. This is where the notes that you had taken earlier will come in handy. During the exam itself, do not get bogged down in the difficult questions. Simply mark them and come back to them when you've covered all the easy questions. Time is not generally a constraint for the SAP certification, but still make sure that you do not lose track of time completely. When you come back, if you're still stuck, take an educated guess. Remember, there is no negative marking. Leave the last 10 minutes for a final check to weed out any careless errors. And finally, hit the submit button. You will get your results there and then at the examination center, and the physical certificate of your passing will be sent to you in post in a week or so. So here is a recap of the 7 steps that you need to cover to do your certification successfully. Hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck for your certification.